All right, I'm Nick. We're going to do a Q&A today. The question came in from a gentleman named John. If you're not familiar with this, we're just going to do it. It's one take. There's no editing. I'm going to ramble. It is what it is. I'm going to read off John's question, summarize it, and then we're going to answer it. Before we do that, it is Veterans Day weekend. We do have a Veterans Day sale for the weekend. It will end Sunday night. On our store page, the discount code is VETS, and it'll take 15% off of Anchor Wizard adapters, and Old Town Rod 2 replacement mounts. There's a link below to our store page. All that information is at the top of the store page, so you don't have to remember it, okay? I'm going to read John's question, elaborate, try to get through it thoroughly, and not spend too much time on it. John writes in, he says, Nick, I live on one of the Finger Lakes in New York. I don't ever have to move my kayak. It's a large lake with open water. He'll be fishing deep water for lake trout. Sometimes he needs to cover a lot of water. Currently, he has a Pro Angler 12. He says it's roomy, super comfortable, and stable. My only complaint is it's hard to cover a lot of water. It is slower. He's considering purchasing a Bigwater PDL or an Outback as an alternative. He'd love to get our thoughts, my thoughts. Thank you. All right, John, thanks for writing in. I appreciate it. First off, I fished from all three. I've caught a lot of really awesome fish from all three. Personally, I would choose the Bigwater PDL over the Outback and the PA12 for a few reasons, but we'll go in and we'll unpack it one at a time, and we'll do a little rambling like normal. Okay, so he writes in, he said the PA12 is roomy, super comfortable, and stable, which it is, okay? And let's compare it to the Outback first, and then we'll compare it to the Bigwater. The Outback is not as comfortable because you sit lower. For me, getting out of the Outback at the end of the day is actually a challenge, which sounds crazy, but you are sitting on the water. You can't see as much. Your vantage point is lower. It's harder to stand up. The kayak is still stable, but it's harder to stand up because your butt is so low to the ground, or to the water, we should say. It's not that much faster. It's pretty much the same footprint, a little bit skinnier, but you're still using the same pedal drive system, okay? And with the Mirage drive, if you just go slow, that's all you get. You have to have a high RPM, so your feet have to be doing this the whole time. And that high RPM, it'll wear you out, okay? It's not a joke. It's hard to get used to. I'm just not a fan of it, and I feel like you're working too hard compared to the PDL drive. Now, if we compare the PA12 to the Bigwater, the PA is more stable, in my opinion. We'll say more stable, right? And we have a video on the Bigwater stability, and I can put a link to that up here. I'll put it in the description as well. The Bigwater is very, very stable, but it is not as stable as the PA, in the sense of the PA is shaped like this, and it has two giant pontoons on the side, so it feels like you have great secondary stability, where the Bigwater is flat and then round on the bottom, okay? And it's not that defined. I'm just doing it so you can see it. So when you lean right or left, it doesn't feel like there's much secondary stability there, but there is. You just kind of got to get used to it, and it's not as wide as a PA, so when you lean right, you need to like move your left foot to the left just to kind of keep your center of balance there, or you will go swimming like anything else. You'll fall out of the PA12 too. The PA12 won't necessarily flip, but I've watched people fall out of it a ton of times by leaning too far in one direction, having so much faith in that pontoon, and then next thing you know, they're wet. So that's something to consider. I think that the Bigwater is definitely faster. I don't think it definitely is faster than the PA12, but I think it's just a propulsion system, right? On the PDL drive, you have a fixed pitch prop. You have a gear system. It is very easy to get to 3 miles per hour and maintain 3 miles per hour. The Bigwater cuts through the water really, really well. There's not a lot of drag, so it moves very, very quickly. I prefer, like I said earlier, I think it's a better all-around platform, and I love reverse. The caveat, all that stuff is, you said you're fishing deep water in New York, so I assume that lake doesn't have a lot of grass. If the lake had a lot of grass, the PDL drive is going to get choked up in that grass very, very often, whereas the Mirage drive will kind of go through that grass a little bit better, okay? The Bigwater sits up just as high as the PA12, and we make a bunch of accessories too that'll help level the seat out and stuff like that. But I think you'll be comfortable. I think you'll have enough room. You won't have as much room as the PA12, but the Outback has very, very little room compared to the PA12. And you'll kind of feel like you lost all of your real estate to put stuff. Um, those are my thoughts, okay? My main recommendation, okay, and I say this for everything I ever say on the phone every single day, try to figure out a way to rent an Outback and a Bigwater, or find, you go on the fishing forum, find someone who maybe they have a kayak you can borrow for the day, or maybe they want to try out a PA12 and you guys can go fish in each other's kayaks or something, and spend some time in it. That way you have a better idea of what the stability feels like, how much room you have. Those are really the most important things in my opinion, okay? I appreciate you taking the time to write in. I guess your email came in about 6 days ago, so I'm still pretty far behind like normal, but I wanted to take the time to get it happen, make it happen, okay? So that's that. If you guys have questions, send an email to nick@navarrekayakfishing.com. Obviously, I won't be able to get to every single one of them, but I do try. I'm still several behind, okay? I'm working on it. I appreciate you guys watching. If you are interested in buying anchor wizard adapters and so on, there's a link below to the website, and we appreciate all your guys' support. Thanks for watching.